right, here we go to talk about, your financial health and well-being. Nick Hopwood is a certified financial planner, founder at Peak Wealth. He has hundreds of millions of dollars under management for high net worth individuals, small business owners, and so much more. You can get an opinion with peakwm.com/Gruber. You can find out more. I think it's best when we say Gruber because that's where the free offer is. So don't forget that. All right? The free offer is where Gruber is. Anyhow, Nick, good to have you back here on the program. Nice to see you.
Good morning, Steve.
So here we are, $35 trillion in debt, on our way to 50, and then $100 trillion in debt. You know, how do we continue to survive this looming crisis? I mean, it's not going to go away. It's going to destroy the entire country. Everybody that's worked hard their entire lives are going to get everything taken away if we continue down this road, aren't we?
I was just driving with my son, my 14-year-old boy, Jack, in the car on Saturday, explaining to him that we just hit 35 trillion and we're running at a $2 trillion annual increase. The interest expense is up. The inflation on Social Security is up. There's really no end in sight. And so I told Jack, we need to get a guy like Steve Gruber to represent us in the House or the Senate so this madness ends.
Well, let's get this thing started right now. I'll throw my candidacy, my hat in the ring for, some future date. Look, $35 trillion in debt. It's unsustainable, but we've known that since it was 15, 20, 25, 30. They all tell us the same story, Nick, and they keep spending and spending and spending. So I don't see it that's ever going to change until we do actually hit a debt crisis. And then they'll all go bananas and say, how did this happen? Well, you idiots voted for it. That's how it happened. Also, people leaving tech, going into small caps. What does that mean? Why is that happening?
Well, some people have called it the Trump trade. We've had continued rotation since the debate, since the assassination attempt. We've had value and small caps outperforming the large cap tech. I think part of it also was that large cap tech was overextended, but the shift has continued. And when I see prospective clients coming in and they show me the portfolio, almost everyone's overweight these large cap tech areas. So I think a lot of people could be caught, on the wrong side of the market here if they don't pay attention. So I'm here to tell you, make sure that you have value, not just growth. Make sure you have mid caps, small caps, international as part of the portfolio.
So diversification, and that's where somebody like you comes in. That's why people shouldn't make decisions on their own. They should talk to somebody, maybe talk to a couple of different people. You always say get a second opinion, which is good advice, I believe. Find out what your options are, right? Don't just say, well, this is what I've always done, stay here. Maybe what you've always done isn't the best path, right?
Yeah, and lately the S&P, the large cap tech have been the leaders. So if you have been diversified, you have not kept up with the S&P. But, that is probably shifting under our feet right now. And just because, we see a change of leadership, doesn't mean that, there's a guarantee of profits if you're in any of these other areas, but it gives us the best chance for success.
Yeah, the best chance for success. You got to see that. All right, so here's something else we've been talking about. A Fed rate cut coming in September. Inflation is at what? 3 points, right? 3 points now. They want to get it to 2, but it looks like there's going to be a political move. The Fed wants to help the Democrats. I've always believed that. It looks like they're going to cut the rates in September, which would help the candidacy of Kamala Harris, wouldn't it?
It could. Right now, there's a 92% probability, the market is telling us, that the Fed will cut a 1/4 point in their September meeting. So for most of us, what is that really going to matter for us? Right now, we've got 5.15% in our money market, which, Steve, we've been talking about for at least 2 years now. If the Fed cuts a 1/4, that means your new money market rate will go down to 4.9. Still pretty good, okay? But what about the bond market, right? The bond market is much more important than just the money market, okay? And so we want to make sure that we have our emergency fund safe in the money market or T-bills, but we want to make sure that longer term investments are in those longer term bonds, not necessarily 30-year bonds, but intermediate term bonds. And if rates go down, we can see capital appreciation on our fixed income.
And what are the bonds paying right now?
Well, it depends on which area of the market you're looking at, but where I feel the sweet spot is, we're looking at about 5.8%.
Pretty strong. And how long do you have to be in to get 5.8%?
We estimate that would be the average return over the next 5 years.
All right, so 5 years. You want to put some money and lock it in for 5 years and leave it there. That's what you would end up with. All right, double check your beneficiaries. This public service announcement that Nick wanted me to have to you. Double check your beneficiaries on what, life insurance, annuities, whatever you might own, because if it doesn't have somebody's name on it, it's going into probate, which means the government's going to chew it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, or it's going to take a lot longer and a lot of frustration for the money to go to the actual beneficiaries. So for your bank account, add a POD. For your brokerage account, set up a trust or add a TOD, which means transfer on death. For your IRA, make sure there's a named beneficiary. Same thing for your 401k and life insurance. We have a very sharp client who came in recently. She has an estate plan set up. She has a trust, but simply overlooked funding the trust. And so this is a good reminder for all of us to take a look at our beneficiaries. In fact, Steve, we do this every meeting we have with our clients. We double check our beneficiaries.
Well, that's an important thing. And if you need a second opinion, go to peakwn.com, peakwm.com/Gruber. Also, QR code for you folks that are watching on the streaming videos on Twitter or on Real America's Voice. There's a QR code they're going to put up there for you. All you do is click it with your phone and boom, you can find out how to get a hold of Nick. peakwm.com, peakwm.com/Gruber. Use that Gruber promo code and you'll get a bonus. Nick Hopwood, thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
Greatly appreciate it. I will take a break and be right back on the Steve Gruber Show.